Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our Justice and Pieces guest speaker series. Today, we are joined by Laura. So, Laura, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about yourself, and thanks again, and thanks for everyone for tuning in.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you for that introduction. So, just a little bit about myself. My name is Laura. I am a practicing lawyer. I do exclusively criminal law. I was called to the bar, I think, around November 2022. I spent time working at a firm. And then after working at that firm, I actually started doing some telephone duty counsel work. I think I've been doing that since around July of 2023. And that doing that job actually allowed me to start my own practice in 2024, just a year later, where I practice exclusively criminal law. I'm based in the GTA. I will take files from Mississauga, Brampton, some in Oshawa, Newmarket, it's that type of those type of areas. So I still do those duty counsel shifts and here and there, but my practice is criminal law. I'm a solo practitioner. And I enjoy it. Being a solo practitioner is fun. There's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of responsibility. I love talking to people, especially the youth, about starting your own business. I see that a lot of lawyers, they're doing things, right? Like they have podcasts, they're doing blogs, some are doing the entertainment industry. And I find that lawyers having multifaceted careers is just so fascinating. And I think I'm more of somebody I'm more I'm somebody that encourages law and entrepreneurship. So I think that really led me to becoming a solo practitioner as a junior lawyer. But more recently, the thing that I've launched, which I'm most excited about out of everything I mentioned, is we founded a company called BarBuddy, and we launched end of August of this year, 2025. So basically, it's for Ontario law students who are looking to pass the bar exam on their next try. And our primary purpose, that's our primary purpose, is to help you pass on your next try. We've created a whole system that is what makes us competitive is that it's very simple. We believe that once you use our system, you will have the confidence to walk into that exam room and just nail it. And it's really been exciting. We've been getting good results so far. I would like to say we're the only company in Ontario that actually has an affordable subscription plan at the time I'm saying this, right? So if you look at every other company that sells these systems, there's expensive courses, there's packages. But we have a subscription model where you just subscribe and we have a system for you to help you with both the barrister and the solicitor exam. It's called BarBuddy. If you really want to start study for the exam, whether you're a new beginner or this is your second time, you go on www.barbuddy.com, you sign up, and you get access instantaneously. Yeah. And I was encouraged by I want to talk about why I even started this, what even motivated me. I have about two or three people that were the same year of law school as me, but unfortunately, they still have not passed the bar exams. They just couldn't do. And what is just devastating to hear is that one thing that they cry about is just the money that they're paying for again. And the bar exam keeps every year they increase the price and they make it worse, the Law Society. So, for example, the materials that we had, I remember when I was studying for the exam, the materials were shipped to us. Now I'm hearing that you have to print all that. That's like $1,000 worth of pages right there, and they're increasing the bar exam. And some people have to book hotels to do the exam. And then you have to pay money to register, right? To license, to article. So you end up paying thousands of dollars and you're not even a student yet. And no one seems to care but us. So that's one of my primary motivation is a system that is simple, right? Where you don't have to delve into thousands of pages just to pass the bar exam. So that's the company that we launched end of August of this year.
Perfect. Okay, so let's we'll come back to Bar Buddy there. Let's kind of go back to
Of
what you
course.
said initially there. So again, you started your own criminal practice. What can you say maybe? And you said you were talking to people about running a business, and what can you say is different from being a solo practitioner in criminal law versus when you were articling or as an associate, and what advice can you have for other, aspiring criminal lawyers, or I mean, in other areas about the things that especially being relatively right out of getting called. I mean, not too soon thereafter of building and starting and building and running a criminal practice.
Oh yeah, so there's so much I can say. I can say as a solo practitioner, I would say my quality of life just increased drastically, right? You get to have more control over your time, right? You get to have more control over over your freedom. I've always said that the number one reason why I chose to be a solo practitioner is not even just really the money, it's one word, freedom, right? It's amazing. There's a lot of responsibility, but you grow as a person, right? So when I'm handling a file, for example, if something goes wrong, like it's really up to me to come and solve it. Like there's no one else to blame, right? I think being a solo practitioner, the responsibility, as I mentioned, it makes you develop as a person. You get to, and also you really get to test your discipline because there's nobody saying that you have to be at the office at this time, right? So that's something else. I would highly recommend it. I'm also running a CPD sometime in December where I talk about starting your own practice as a junior lawyer because there's just this myth going out there that you need to have many years of experience to do it and you don't. So what I would say, it's great life quality. Anybody who wants to do it, I highly recommend doing it. The first thing I would say is just look at the Law Society. They actually have guidelines on how to start your own practice. I would say look at the law, what they call Law Pro. They have templates on how to create retainers and just reach out to people. That's my number one advice. If you're afraid, if you really want to start your own practice, just really reach out to people that are doing it. You can reach out to me and I'll be more than welcome to, I would more than likely have like a coffee chat with you. So it's amazing. I would say so. It's not without its issues. Um, Sometimes I would tell you a lot of the days I'm doing administrative work than I am doing legal work. I think that's the thing that surprised me the most about being a solo practitioner. Like I think I do more about running the business than actually doing legal research. So you really are a business person and not just a lawyer. So anybody who wants to solo, start their own practice, that's another thing I would let you know is that you might be doing more business work than you are doing more legal work. And is that something that you're okay with?
Well, on that point, I mean, one of the things that you've kind of built into that, you mentioned telephone duty counsel. I mean, outside of
Yeah.
myself, who also we work same organization there. Maybe you can share because I often get this question like, "Oh, you're duty counsel. What courthouse do you work out of?" And so maybe you could tell us. It comes from the Bridges case. What's that been like? I think you have much nicer hours than me, at least. The biggest struggle for me is staying awake, but. What's the kind of things that you've learned from doing it? How does that help you in your the rest of your criminal practice?
Oh, yeah. So I am a telephone duty counsel. I think the company Bridges we work with, I think their official name might be Assistant Services Group, and then we're the legal services part of that. So what that essentially is like is that I call it shift work. My job is essentially to take calls from people that have been arrested really all over Ontario, and then we advise them of their rights. The reason why we have this program is because, as you know, when you are arrested, right, you have a right to speak, right to instruct counsel without delay. And it's very important that when someone is arrested, they speak with a lawyer as soon as possible, right? So my job is essentially to advise them of their rights. Um, if you have any issues, you can speak with duty counsel. Again, this is what the police can do. This is what the police cannot do. And then I also say that I think you should also hire a lawyer going forward. I think what I've learned, we take on many calls. As you know, my shift hours, I would say I do a lot of 6 to 2. I've been doing more 2 to 10 lately, and then 10 to 6. I haven't done a midnight shift. I don't think I could do your midnight shift. I would just fall asleep. But those are like really my time gaps. Usually 2 to 10, 6 a.m. to 2, and 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The way it's helped my practice as a having my own practice is two ways. One, when you're speaking with a client, right? Sometimes there's legal issue. This as a criminal lawyer, criminal law is so expensive. There's always going to be legal issues you haven't come across with. So many times when I'm speaking with a client on the phone, there might be a legal issue that I don't know. So I would research it and it will help me in my own practice. And I'll say that's very common for the immigration side, right? Because as duty counsel, we take on a lot of immigration calls. So people that have been arrested by CBSA officers, not necessarily like the police, but CBSA officers. And then I have to be knowledgeable about a bit of immigration and customs act. I had to be a little bit knowledgeable refugee. And I think even that stuff, that part has reinforced that as a criminal lawyer, when you're speaking with the client, like you really need to understand the immigration consequences that your clients are facing right from the beginning. So you can tell your clients, okay, speak with the immigration lawyer, fine, but you yourself need to know exactly how it's going to affect them because that's going to affect negotiations, speaking with the crown. And the second way that it's helped my business really is income, right? So when you are starting your own practice, the fear that people have is not just people looking at you is what about the money? How much is going to cost, right? And even if you could start a practice and you're going to make income from that, let's just be honest, it's not going to be income you're making from day one. So how are you going to survive? And that has really helped me. I didn't even know like there was always before I started working as a telephone duty counsel in July of 2023, I didn't even know something like that existed. And I just feel so blessed that I have, I'll call it a side hustle while I'm funding my own practice. So I think it's helped in two ways in terms of it's helped me grapple with legal issues that I haven't thought of. So when I'm preparing for my own files, I already would have known. And secondly, it's reliable source of income.
Now, yeah, with that, I mean, one sort of follow up there is there more, I mean, in terms of how do you kind of balance all these calls that are coming in, and the need, as you said, because you're the first point of contact very soon thereafter, someone's been arrested or on immigration detention and Customs Act. Um, no, even sometimes so security guards on shoplifting and stuff like that. How do you kind of get a quick summary of the law, explain that, and even you're essentially having like a very short interview, like a client intake interview. I
Yeah.
mean, not the most formal setting, let's say, but kind of how do you gather all of that, do be very concise, but ensure that the client understands more than just simply the lawyer told me not to talk to you. And keep quiet, in the station there.
Oh yeah. So what I would say is that when I'm speaking with clients, I know that there's memos on the law that are always available to us. So I always make sure like it's updated, right? And then when I speak to the clients, I speak with them in a slow way and I tell them, okay, do you have any questions? Let me know. And if I don't know the answer, because sometimes I really don't know the answer, I'm not going to make up something to make me feel smart because that could just be detrimental to their case. I will spend that extra time on the call and say, okay, just give me a moment. I would look at it, and also with the telephone duty council, our colleagues are amazing, right? There's always I'll put it in the chat. Okay, I have this issue. Can you get back to me? And there's always somebody that will help, right? So that's how I kind of grapple with that. I would say also as a telephone duty council, like there's a lot of calls that are coming in. So you just have to really just be a bit patient. You have to speak slowly, understand the law, understand the advice. And I also like I explain to the clients the repercussions. So like when I say, what do we always say? You have the right to remain silent. I don't just say that. I tell them, hey, if you say something, right, you don't have to talk. You can incriminate yourself. And if you do that, there's little recourse in correcting that, right? You don't have to talk. And then I don't just leave it. I explain to them when you remain silent, okay, you don't look guilty. Because that's always something at the back of the mind, even they don't say. And I explain to them the law, like you don't look guilty. If you remain silent, this is not something that can be used later against you in court. And also sometimes I'll do like a bit of an interview. I will like test them and be like, what are you gonna say? And then they will understand. And I said, do you have any questions? Please let me know. And then I also remind them if you have any questions further on, always call speak with duty counsel again.
Perfect. And so let's kind of return back to where we were talking about outside of your practice of law, right? Is BarBuddy here. So you shared a little bit of obviously the costs being very prohibitive for a lot of people, and some of the costs not being imported or exported from the Law Society to individual candidates, right? Simply things like printing, right? All that material, those adds up, those extra couple $100 here or there.
Mhm.
So tell me a bit about more about BarBuddy, I guess maybe generally, and you certainly shared about affordability, right? And in terms of
Mhm.
that, because I mean, one of the things, I mean, I actually right after this, I tutor people writing the paralegal licensing exam, and then I was looking at like what is it? What are the law students pay? Because I was looking at pricing, and I'm like, wow, right?
Mhm.
Like, because I'm trying to get people to pay me like $100 for like a 4 week, 8 hour session, and I'm
Mhm.
seeing like 900 plus, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I guess I picked the wrong students to try to tutor. Go back to my the law students there, but maybe you could tell me a little bit about again BarBuddy and all of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So with BarBuddy, what I would say is we have a system, a simple system that really will help you pass the bar exam on your next try. We're not a course. We're not a tutoring service. We are a online digital system, right? So with BarBuddy, what we do, we have simple guides, like a 5 minute guide. If you sign up for BarBuddy, you get a 5 minute guide. Maybe it's about 10 minutes, just really explaining what the exam is, the timing, and this is what we think is the best strategy to study. And with that, one thing I always tell students that are studying, it's very important. You can take all the courses you want, you can watch all the videos you want, but there's no substitute for actually doing practice questions. Like that's the main thing. And we find that many students, they study the wrong way, meaning that they spend time reading, highlighting for months, and then do questions at the end. Some of them are taking courses and they don't pass because it's too passive. They're not still doing their work. So with us, with BarBuddy, it's a system that really dispels all the myths about what it takes to study for the exam. And we give you a guide where you do this, you do this, this is how you look for the answer. And if you get it wrong, this is how you understand it. With our company, once you sign up for both barrister and solicitor, you get access to both barrister and solicitor. Most companies, what they do is they actually divide it. You have to pay separately for barrister materials and separately for solicitor materials. I always found that super annoying when I was a student, but you get access to both barrister and solicitor materials to study for. And essentially, you have access to 700 questions, practice questions, and plus. We have exam simulations, like mock exams. The exam right now, currently as it stands, is about 4 hours, 160 multiple choice questions, and a 30-minute break. And what we also have is a private student hub where you can actually speak with other students, right? We call ourselves Bar Buddy. We really want to be your buddy while you're studying. Our job really is two things: make it simple and help you pass on the next try. And we also harp on affordability. So we have a subscription plan for just $45 a month. You get access to the 700 plus questions, both barrister and material. You get a progress tracker. The progress tracker is really in depth. We always say you cannot pass this exam if you don't know your weak areas. Many students make the mistake of studying. There's 8 topics across both exams. Some students make the mistake of like spending equal amount of time, but you shouldn't do that because everyone has weakness, right? So you have a progress tracker, whereas as you're going through the questions, right, and you're taking down your grades, the progress tracker will tell you exactly where's your weak areas. So you'll know, is it family law? Is it criminal law? Is it public law? And then, yeah, and then that's for $45 a month, like that's where you get access to. And then we also have a lifetime plan that for just $299, you pay a lifetime fee and that's it. You forget about it. So that's a little bit about BarBuddy. Again, our slogan is essentially helping you pass on the next try and just making it simple. We give you a guide and it's not more than 8 minutes.
And with that, so is there like a minimum sign? Like somebody said, hey, if I'm going to work really diligently for uh, October to November because I think the barristers or solicitors is on November 11th. I know it's the same day as the paralegals. That's why
Yeah.
I'm aware of it. So if somebody signed up, let's say for a month, and that's it. That's all they're gonna like. Is it just gonna be the subscription for the month, or do you do more like access to certain materials, or how does it all work?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So if they pay the subscription, as soon as you cancel it, that you can cancel at any time, right? So if you pay $45, as long as you're subscribed, you get access to the materials. As soon as you cancel, you no longer get access to the materials. So I find that's much better than what some of my competitors do. I remember when I was studying, you would pay a fee, and then I think it would be you would have access for 3 months. So that was an additional pressure where you need to pass the bar exam for 3 months. But for the subscription plan, you pay it, and as long as you're paying it, you get access. And it's always updated, right? So we update like usually around, we're going to be updating like at least twice or three times a year just to make sure that the law is still material. So right now we have about 3 sets of on-time practice questions, 3 sets of per topic. And so, for example, like criminal law, there's 3 sets. So the third set is like very difficult. And we say, you do set one, set two first. And we have that for every topic untimed. So students get access to everything. And then, but what we do recommend is that if you're going to study for this exam, we do say give yourself at least 12 weeks. That's what we say. That's what we always say. And then the 299, which is what we find quite attractive, and many people just do that, is because you just pay, you don't have to worry about it, right? Because some people will pass this exam in 12 weeks, but there's going to be people that are going to be studying for 6 months, and that's okay.
Okay, so they have a flat option and then a
Yeah.
monthly option.
Yeah, we also have like another plan. It's called the basic plan. It's $35 a month, but that's really you just get questions. You don't get access to the exam simulations. You just get access to practice questions. You don't get access to the private student hub. You don't get access to the progress chapter. You really get access to the basic things, which is just the questions. So we have the 35, the 45 a month, and the 299. The 45 and the 299, the is exact same type of materials you're getting access to. Just you're paying monthly, the other one you pay, you never think about it again.
Now, with that, certainly practice questions, practice exams, simulations, all that. What advice do you have for law students? Again, whether they were some of your colleagues you mentioned earlier who have struggled with the licensing exam. I know for paralegal students now, the law study just published, pass rates by schools and things like that, which puts, added pressure, I think, on them as well. But specifically for law students, barrister and solicitor exams, what have you found in what you're providing and from students that have reached out in terms of, maybe what are some common mistakes that are made and maybe some solutions to that and how you can put yourself in a better position to become licensed and start practicing law?
Oh, absolutely. So what we researched and what we found, and this is how, and when I took the exam, I actually passed both on the first try. So that I also build upon my experience. So some of the advice that I would give is that some of the mistakes I see students doing is that, let's say the exam is in November and they start studying July. From July to from the July to maybe October, they would just like read the materials and have like 6 different highlighters. And I see people going around giving that advice. I don't know why. It's really is the worst advice. So they'll just read the materials, okay, and then they have a highlighting system. Maybe blue is for limitations, purple's for this and that. We think that that's just not a good way at all. The materials are very dense. You can't learn by reading. We think that you can only really study by active recall, right? Doing practice questions right away. However, with that, we say you need to start with untimed questions first and then do time questions later on. So when you're doing on-time questions, right? The exam is the exam is what, 4 hours and 160 multiple choice. That leaves you about 95 seconds to answer each question on the actual exam. That's not a lot of time, right? So really, at least I would say if there's 160 questions, maybe about 50, 40 to 50, you actually kind of have to know without searching for the answer in order to confidently pass this exam. So when you're doing on time, when you're doing practice questions, let it first be untimed. Don't worry about timing now. And then every time there's a question, you need to be looking for two things. Okay. What is the subject, right? And what is the topic? And that's how, when you frame your mind that way, it would help you to search for the answer much quicker and remember why you got it. So a good question could be, a good question could be something about uh, I don't know, a lawyer wants to do this, so and so, but it might expose the client's private information. What do they do, right? So your mind needs to recognize that, okay, we're asking about professional responsibility and duty of confidentiality, right? And but the questions are usually very complicated. Or the question would be like, the lawyer exposed his client's personal information. What should they do? So the question is usually asking about duty of confidentiality, and it could be asking about you might have to report to the law society when you make those type of mistakes. So you have to really find the subject and the topic, and then when you look for the answer, right, and you get it wrong, you have to understand why you got it wrong. And just by doing that in the beginning, right, then you'll get more comfortable to do the timed mock exams. And we believe that will make you ready to pass. What's another thing that I see students doing? I see students just not giving themselves enough time. We do think on average you probably need about 12 weeks for the exam. Another thing is there are students who will pay a course and they still don't pass. The reason why we think that is because the learning is too passive, right? They're still not doing their own practice questions. They're just relying on teaching, right? You won't learn like that. I don't know if you ever did the NCA's exams. It's quite different, but it's not, what I'm trying to say is that the bar exam is not an exam that you can actually just learn by like reading the material and hearing it. You really learn by like doing the practice questions.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of practice questions there, how are they kind of, you mentioned hundreds of them. So how, do you have a way to simulate, let's say, 160 question, um, 4 hour, 4.5 hour, I think, exam, and or do like are they like randomized? Can they do like a bunch of different times at it? So what do you get kind of with it? I think it's the $45 a month or the 299 sort of all in packages there of access to those questions, which you're saying is one of the most important elements in exam prep.
Yeah. So for the exam, the timed exam simulations that we do, you can only do that one time. So there's only one time attempt on that. But the good news is that we will be adding more exam simulations too. Sometime within the next month or so, we'll be adding more. But you get one time, you get one shot on that. The untimed questions, it is unlimited. You could do them as much as you want, and they are randomized. So the way it will work is you log on to BarBuddy. They're randomized, but they're sorted by topics. So we don't have sets where it'll be one where it's civil litigation and criminal law in the same set. It's all grouped by topics. And for each there's 8 topics on the exam. And for each topic, we have 3 sets of 25 questions. So let's say criminal law, do criminal law, you'll see there'll be a set one, set two, set three. Set three is much more difficult than set one and set two, but we recommend that you please start with set one, set two first, just to get comfortable, and then you start doing the third set, which is mirrors the exam more. Um, so that's how it will look like, and that's for all topics.
And you said with the untimed, you can kind of go back and do them.
Oh yeah, you can go back and do them. That's not a problem. Yeah, you'll get access to that. It's untimed, so it's untimed and it's unlimited.
Okay,
Unlimited
but like a
choice.
student who's doing that can essentially, even though it's on time, they can say, okay, I'm gonna try to do these in like it's the exam. Like I won't spend 5 minutes on it. I'll spend 90, 95 seconds on that question, then I got to get to the next one. So they have that ability to sort of
Oh, of
self-regulate.
course, of course. Yeah, that won't be an issue. They have that ability. You don't recommend doing that in the beginning, but if you want to, you have that ability, of course.
Perfect. So anything else you want to share about BarBuddy that we haven't already discussed that students can benefit from?
Yeah, so I maybe I could drop this on the link, but we have a free study guide on our YouTube channel, right? Just watch that. We found that to be very helpful. So we are very active on Instagram and LinkedIn, more active on YouTube and Instagram, and we're just there giving just free advice on how to study. We're dispelling. We have a blog where we answer the most common questions. We answer common questions that other people are not answering. So if you just need more information, please look at our YouTube. Please look at our link. Please look at our Instagram. And yeah, we also have a blog, as I mentioned. So I would say start from there. Another thing I want to let students know is that for the $45 plan and for the $299 lifetime, right, we're going to be adding more resources and we're going to be adding more questions. So when we add more questions, you get access to that as well. So I mentioned we have three sets. I think that by the end of this year, we'll probably have set four, maybe even set five. If you pay for it now, and we have three sets right now, and you're still on it, whether set five or set four, you'll get access to that as well. So that's one thing we want students to know. And also we want students to know that we do update them. I think that's a common question. I've had students complain that they've used other materials and the questions were just wrong. It was not relevant with the law. We do update them. So I don't want you don't have to worry about ever with us with any question and it not actually matching what's in your study books.
Perfect. So Laura, do you have any final words of wisdom, any advice, especially for those students, whether law students, paralegal students, about to write licensing exams next month? Any sort of motivation that you can share with them?
Yeah, so I want to tell them something that they probably never heard before, and because this is a common issue that I'm hearing. If you do not pass the exam, it has nothing to do with your intelligence. It has nothing to do with your worth. I've had students cry to me saying that they've had family members say, "Why can't you just pass it? Like, are you not smart?" Things like that. I've had those stories. It has nothing to, this is not an exam that measures intelligence. It's really just about how fast you can find the answer. Don't, if you didn't pass the exam, it doesn't mean that you're not meant to be a lawyer, far from it. You will pass. The question is not if you'll pass, it's just a matter of when you'll pass. Okay. What I would say is don't be afraid to try something new. If you were studying something before, the most important thing I'll say is that you need to track your weak areas. So you need to know exactly which areas you think you struggle with more. If you don't identify that, I don't see how you can pass. And that's why we created the progress tracker. And that's one of the most complimented product that we have is that progress tracker. And when you see the progress tracker, you see your progress. Like that in itself will give you the confidence and it motivates you. So I would say students take a deep breath. It's good. It's going to be okay. Don't let anyone pressure you. You could take one exam and you could take, I see some students who take both at the same time, but you can also defer. I deferred, right? You're not any less smart if you deferred as opposed to taking both. Like just do it at your own pace. And that's what I would like to give students. And if there's any students that's been watching and they've been listening, we do have a discount code that is limited. It's called Pass 249 for our lifetime. So you'll get more than 15% off.
Perfect, Laura. One other thing, I mean, I don't know if the lawsuit, I believe, is looking at altering the barrister and
Mhm.
solicitor exams, and that just popped into my head because I remember reading about it a couple of weeks ago. So, what are your thoughts on what they've kind of looked at? I think it's like more a completely different structure. I mean, I think anything's on the table potentially. So, what are your thoughts on the existing structure, and then is there any thoughts on what they could change it to in the future?
Yeah, so I read a little bit about that. I think that they're doing a consultation sometime January of 2026. I think many students there's been complaints that the current exam just doesn't really test fairly and adequately, and it's not working. So my thoughts, and they're considering a skills-based assessment. I think that's a good way to go. right? Because the bar exam, the way I've always thought of it, just how fast you can find the answer. However, I don't think it's the most useless thing that people have complained as well. Like the bar exam does force you to really understand professional responsibility, right? The Law Society, they don't really give information on how to pass this exam, but one thing you do know is that you can't really pass until you understand professional responsibility. So I do like that aspect of it. I think my thoughts are I hope it would be a fair assessment. One thing I'll tell students is I think be careful what you wish for because they might get rid of the current structure, but they will just replace it with a new one, and that might even be worse or better. So I would say put aside the complaining for now and just really try and ace the exam as it is. That's what I would say. I know it's difficult, but it could be worse. And that's the advice I would give. And I do understand that even if they were to change the current structure, it's not going to take place immediately. I think because I know this because I know in the States they did something like that as well. They changed it but it took a year for the change to actually be implemented. So that's what I'll say my take is on it. And also speaking to NCA, I think there's a belief out there, or maybe studies have shown that NCA candidates are more likely not to pass the bar exam as it is. If you're listening, you can pass. I promise you. You can pass the exam.
Perfect. So thank you so much, Laura, for taking the time and joining us here today. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day, John Paul. Thank you so much.